Hey, News Quiz fans, we are so excited to be joined by Alora Mazarakis, who works for NASA as a flight communication and tracking engineer. Thanks for being here. She is from Kentucky, you all, and visiting here just on a break from her main work at NASA, where she's working on the Artemis One program. Thanks so much for being here. Tell us all what it is you do for NASA.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm a flight communications and tracking engineer. So basically that means that me and my team work on all of the antennas on the Space Launch System rocket, as well as the Orion crew module, where the astronauts will eventually sit. And we make sure that the antennas are communicating all of the important information to the ground system. And then when the rocket launches, we'll be saying, go for launch, when the antennas are go for launch.
That is awesome. So we do have some questions from our News Quiz fans. They want to know, what did you study in school to become an engineer for NASA?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 2 degrees. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. My bachelor's degree is in electrical and computer engineering. So think circuits and power systems. And my master's degree is in radio frequency engineering, or you might hear it called RF engineering, and avionics. So that's basically antennas. So the type of communications that you get to your cell phone or your TV, that's all radio frequency engineering. So that, in the context of aerospace and airplanes and rockets, is what my master's degree is focused in.
Wow. They also want to know, how did you get your job?
Yes. So when I was in my bachelor's degree and studying electrical engineering, I was fortunate enough to get a job with a company who makes payloads, which are science experiments, for the International Space Station. And that was the coolest, to be able to get to work on that and to be able to talk to the astronauts in space and help them understand how to do our experiments. And after I did that for a little bit of time, I was able to combine my experience with NASA and the astronauts with my experience in radio frequency engineering. And it just so happened that NASA was looking for an engineer that had both of those things. And I was fortunate enough to be chosen. What is your favorite thing about being a scientist? That's a great question. So at NASA in particular, I think that it's so cool to work on the rockets themselves. And just like your car, sometimes rockets have problems too, and it takes engineers and other scientists to look at the problems and figure out how to solve them in a way that will allow us to launch the rocket safely. And really figuring out those problems is so cool. And not only just because we're working on a rocket ship, but because you get to use things like the scientific method, like you learn in school, and really apply that to real life situations and solve the problems and figure it out. And it feels so good at the end when you do launch the rocket and you realize that all of the science that you applied really ended up working at the end.
Wow. So I want to know, what is your best advice for young kids who might be interested in space or circuits or some of the things that you were interested in as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best advice that I could give, or that I was given, is to never stop being curious. And I guess to elaborate more, if you're interested in something, and sorry parents, take it apart, learn how it works. Or, you could do that with Legos too, so you're not taking apart any remote controls or anything. But stay curious, research things that interest you, do projects on things that interest you, even if you don't have to for school. Read about things that interest you, look at pictures of stars in space and airplanes or cars, whatever it is that strikes your interest. But if you start young and trying to understand these things, and kind of going with your scientific instincts, as you get older, that almost grows, it blossoms, and you start to take up an engineering mindset. And then when you get to school, really, math is everything. I think that math is so cool, and I know math is hard, math can be hard, but it's so cool because you can explain so many things about our Earth and about the universe through math. So just taking an understanding and taking an interest in math and science is really, I think, the best thing that you can do to set yourself up to becoming not just a scientist, but a NASA scientist in particular.
Wow, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time here with us. And you guys heard it here. Math is cool, and stay curious. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.